This video isn't late, you're late. Get off my back, you entitled piece of— Attack on Titan is back, and bigger than ever, and by that I mean that there is very little tightening this time around. But don't you worry, because we make up for it with act-on-act violence, more flashbacks, a government with the competence of America, Femboys, as well as a cameo from famous celebrity Drake.
Hey Drake, I hear you like I'm young.
Did we really need the child predator scene? What did he say I'ma mean by this? The conspiracy of the church comes to a head this season as Eren struggles to get hard after he learns about what happened to his father.
What do you mean?
Season 3 was my least favorite on my initial watch, so let's see if it manages to be worse than Season 1. Do not ruin Historia. We start off and Eren is wondering what exactly lies beyond the ocean outside the walls. We will find out next time. The 104th is cleaning house and question why they were chosen to be in the new Levi squad. Makes sense, the name of the Levi squad carries a bad rep. Eren is then brought into an experiment and has to be pulled out. That man has his skeleton exposed. So they're trying to figure out how to make Eren get hard, but can't seem to. Levi brings to Erwin that Historia may have knowledge about the walls, and possibly even getting hard. Erwin questions why Lord Reiss, a regional lord, would know that. We cut back to the new squad, and Connie expresses a desire for revenge against the Beast Titan, given his mother's condition. Wow, okay. A revenge story could be an opportunity for something from Connie. Sure hope we get some resolution to this line. This then causes Historia to express that she has lost her motivation without having Ymir around. Eren questions whether she wants to save her, and she responds that she initially wanted to, but also couldn't forgive Ymir for leaving. Now that she has calmed down, she can see that Ymir chose her own fate, and has no desire to change that. Eren says that she is finally talking normal and not putting on an act. She retorts, informing him that she won't be as happy or kind as Krista anymore. And Eren says that he likes that she is more natural. This exposition sucks! You got her motives across so much better in Season 2. Aside from that, this is the exact place that I would take this character. One who had truly never learned to live for herself and has now lost the person that she lived for. What is her purpose now? What does she even want? Who is Historia Reiss? That is the question of the season. Hanji then brings to the fellas that Pastor Nick has been murdered. Oh yeah, all of these seasons have started similarly intriguing, with the exception being Season 2, which, funnily enough, ended up being the best. This is the start of the plot. Let's see what we got. We see his corpse, a glimpse of it before the comically evil military policemen stop Hanji. They claim it's armed robbery, but Hanji noticed his nails were removed, implying torture. They tell her to back off, calling her a dumb corpsman and saying, okay, big guy. Usually we at least have some glimpses of humanity even in AOT's more one-dimensional characters, but given this and Season 1, it seems that the military and interior police are absolutely irredeemably evil. I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe they just have an ego from being like the best of the best in the training corps. Yeah, they can't be that bad. Hanji notices the two officers are from the capital and asks what that's about, so he calls them useless layabouts. She feigns ignorance to get a look at one's hand and tells them to tell the killer that she will do what happened to Nick to the killer. That was a sentence. She noticed his knuckle was sore, so they were definitely the culprits. She had given Nick a fake identity to protect him from the church, but she never expected soldiers to execute him. So, how did soldiers find him if he had a fake identity? She says she was careless. How so? Maybe she doxed him by putting his private information online. You know how you could avoid ending up like Nick? With the sponsor of this video— yeah, I don't have a sponsor. So all of Nick's nails were torn off, so he likely didn't squeal. Regardless, they have unfriendly eyes on them now. They evacuate just in time as news arrives that the Survey Corps are banned from going outside. Doesn't sound like a punishment to me. Erwin has been arrested, and Eren and Historia are to be turned in. They are protecting the secrets of the walls in spite of how it will compromise their own secretiveness. Hanji concludes that since they want those two, they want them alive. Why would you not kill them? What could it mean? So they decide to return to Trost to get a lead while it is in panic. Eren remembers something that Ymir and Bertolt spoke about, so he gives a paper with it to Hanji as she leaves to go after Erwin. The royal government gives out extra food to the people to buy them off. They did address it, at least. They've still done some horrendous things and some stupid ones, but alright. I guess Le Baguette buys off literally everyone. So a carriage speeds by and the two guys grab Historia and Eren. Then we cut to Eren and Historia in a different cart, being taken in secretly. John and Armin were actually the ones kidnapped, disguised as the people of interest. Sure, AOT was great and all that, but where were the Femboys? Your prayers have now been answered with Femboy Armin. We cut back to them, and Armin is being molested. Why did we need this? Oh, no. Did the government hire Jeffrey Epstein? Are you serious? What is this? I also want to point out, wow, how lucky that Mr. Not Like Us didn't decide to molest his crotch. That would have ruined the whole plan, so yeah. Isayama-san, can we not adapt this scene? Trust me, it is imperative that we keep the pedophile kidnapper. Levi shares something with Eren's GF that we will learn later. During this conversation, though, Eren's GF asks Levi how his leg is doing, and he responds that it's doing just fine. Wait a second, maybe I pulled the criticism trigger a little too early on Erwin in Season 2. This line seems to imply that Levi was out of commission due to his leg injury on the 57th expedition, which would explain his absence from that season. I even got a comment about this exact thing on the Season 2 video. It can't be. Am I in the wrong? Now let me explain how this scene leads to even more issues. Levi showed zero signs of this affecting him prior to this exact moment. He walked perfectly fine even directly after it happened. Not only that, but one leg is not stopping Levi from doing anything ODM gear related, as he is competent enough to get around that. Erwin even orders Levi to help with the evacuation of Stohes, which is away from the action, sure, but you're gonna need your legs for that job, unless he uses his ODM gear to do it, in which case we end up back to the prior point. Yet, when the possibility that there were two traitorous titans in their ranks arose, he sent Levi to be Nick's watchdog. Erwin is still stupid in Season 2. All this line adds is more contradictions, even though this is intended to be the explanation. But perhaps you still don't buy all that and believe that Levi was made completely out of commission until now thanks to that leg injury. If that's you right now, I suggest you keep watching around 5 minutes more. So the abductees arrive and are swiftly taken out. Levi senses something is up since the government wouldn't hire amateurs. Okay, so at least it wasn't their Minecraft YouTuber, or Smash player, or you ever notice how many ways there are to say pedo nowadays? He asks his soldier if she has heard of Kenny the Ripper. She then describes who he was in excruciating detail. She then asks if it's just a legend. Thank you very much. We are so back. I'm sure she was just making sure it wasn't the other Kenny the Ripper. Levi tells her that not only is he real, he even lived with him. He then says that if he were the one trailing the wagon, he'd trail from the rear from a high vantage point. He then gets snuck up on from the rear from a high vantage point. Kenny attempts to give them back shots, but only kills the unimportant character. We then see that there are also about 19 other soldiers that Levi also missed despite being suspicious of and perfectly predicting their entire plan. I guess the military police are extremely competent, guys. Levi does the meme now. Kenny! He throws a blade and Kenny deflects it last second before shooting once again. Those are some powerful guns, literally cratering the terrain like that and destroying the faces of these random soldiers. Alright, let's just hope they stay that powerful when used against our main characters. Levi escapes and the others are engaged by the military police. This lady rips off the roof and hits them both with a tranq dart. Levi is chased down as he avoids every shot, including those from Kenny. He does get nicked once though, so I guess it's okay, you know? He then crashes into a bar at high speeds, feet first. Oh, whoops. Looks like 5 minutes was a little much. Ow. Why on earth did you think it was a good idea to point out Levi's leg injury directly before having him pelt into a building feet first at Mach speed and walk it off completely? You'd have to try to write something like that. It's almost as if the Ackermans are selectively superhuman and normal people depending on the needs of the plot. What? Who said that? Kenny goofs about as he enters the bar. Levi asks him about working with the military police and he says, he then takes this opportunity to insult Levi's height and informs him that he is surrounded. He proposes that he knows why Levi joined the Survey Corps and explains his philosophy that all you need to live a life is a fulfilling hobby, something you want to do. Levi asks him if blowing up his teammate's head is a fulfilling hobby for him, and he says yes, and he doesn't care what he has to do to achieve a greater goal. He remarks that Levi has also done his share of killing. Okay, so this is Kenny the Ripper, courtesy of some incredible dialogue. We can already infer a lot from his jovial attitude, jabs at Levi, and blanket statement of his beliefs, as well as that extremely natural exposition about his past. Alright, let's talk about the dialogue. You see, Levi, me and you grew up in the gutters and had to struggle to survive, but we did it because we enjoyed it, and I enjoy what I do now. I also have a greater goal, though, and I will leave that a mystery for the audience. Isn't Kenny that serial killer guy who killed about 100 people? Was Season 2 an accident? Was I reading too much into it? Why would you write this dialogue? We are speedrunning this character in the most lazy way possible. He does have some personality, I suppose, but he basically said, I am this guy. This is my backstory and philosophy, and a mystery box for the audience. By the way, we're not so different, you and I. Also, if this goes to plan, Levi dies here, so there's literally no point to telling him this. It's just for the audience. Humans do not speak like this. It's so clunky. Levi affirms that he has indeed killed and shoots Kenny in the head. The bar owner had a shotgun for Levi because, of course, the random building he was forced into had a weapon that he could fight back with that was also right next to him. Also, Levi admits here to being a killer. Are we going to do anything with that in the future? No. But Kenny reacts and blocks the bullets with a chair. I will say that again. Kenny reacts to bullets and blocks them with a chair. What? I have a lot to say. So, Kenny puts the chair behind himself and Levi fires the shotgun. After the gun has fired, Kenny is able to react to bullets mid-air. That's one. Kenny is then able to bring that chair from behind him to in front of him in the time that the bullets are flying. He moves faster than bullets. He has super speed. That's two. Levi fires a shotgun, something which notably shoots a spread of bullets from its shells, and Kenny blocks all of them with a chair. He is not hit once. That's three. The chair explodes. Yeah, so wood is not very good at stopping bullets in the first place. Something like a chair at a bar is probably made for cheap, especially given the economic situation, and being shot by something as strong as a shotgun from not that far would probably just go through and hit him. Though again, my gun knowledge is limited. But I do know that if something did happen, it would either pierce the wood and get stuck in it or go through it completely, not blow up the chair and still be neutralized somehow. That's 4. Yeesh. 4 notes in 2 seconds. Is that a record? Levi jumps out the window after distracting a dude with a chair and hooks onto him. That's pretty smart. Good job. Others notice, and he uses this soldier as a shield. So, the bullets that do this to terrain and people and actively explode as Levi is being shot at are now not going through a person and hitting Levi. Maybe that soldier is made of plutonium. He throws his shield at them, and I hope that's them reloading and not just standing there. But they die. Guess they only have so many shots. That's fair enough. They do let out quite a few as he dashes up. Of course, Levi couldn't know when they needed to reload, but still. We cut back to the Survey Corps, and Sasha hears shots. Wait, where have you guys been? Levi told you to rendezvous with him when you finished moving like 5 minutes ago. Why aren't you there? Levi should be dead, and you are just standing on a roof. Get to Eren and Historia, you unwieldy rolls of gauze. Eren's GF says that Levi mentioned they will have to fight humans now. This could be something compelling. Here's to hoping. Kenny tells his associates that it slipped his mind that the bar would have a gun. So that was no prediction, he really did just react to bullets. Kenny remarks that Levi's mind has grown though his body hasn't, so his associate says that's nice, and he says no it's not. He then says, this was prompted, trust me. That's just the scene. The Survey Corps then spots Levi chasing the kidnappers on their way towards the gunshots. A guy shoots Levi and he dodges it. Mid-air. We just dodge bullets now. Are these even normal humans anymore? Notably, John has a very concerned reaction to Levi killing another human. Levi tells them to go after the wagon and not hesitate if they get the chance. John and Armin land on the wagon and the lady coaching points a gun at them, to which Eren's GF promptly kicks her in the face. She just gets knocked down by this, not killed, not knocked out, she just gets a bit bloody. Again, with ODM gear momentum and an Ackerman kick. Eren's GF at this point has neither a character nor a plot reason to hold back. Also, look at this. Eren's GF kicks her from the side and yet she falls forwards. She should fall off the cart here and die. We're about to get into a scene that I love, but every way we got here is problematic. John begs this person not to move, his expression telling you that he hopes she doesn't for his own sake. She moves and adjusts herself, John hesitating to stop her. She knocks his sword from his hand and takes aim at him. Eren's GF rushes to save him, but the gun fires. Blood spurts into the air, and we cut away. We'll get back there later. At the capital, the government discusses their options and news reaches them of Eren and Historia's capture from Lord Reiss. He is the one behind this attack. Erwin is here and is trying to convince a military policeman to pick whether they can trust the government or not. He states he is going to make another gamble. Back to the Survey Corps and Armin is throwing up and crying. He then asks if this is how Eren's GF felt too. Eren's GF can only apologize. John is nowhere on screen. We flash back to the events and see that the shot fired was from Armin, not the lady. They were then forced to retreat. That's a pretty good misdirect and an extremely emotional moment for both characters. The act of murder for both of these characters, whose core values hold life to the degree they do, is unthinkable. And yet, we are actually using this action scene to tell us about character by forcing them into a situation where they have to act. Well, I guess that's unfair, because some of the action scenes have told us about character, it's just mostly negatively affecting their intelligence. John, for example, absolutely cannot bring himself to do it. His willingness to protect others founded from his nature and brought out by Marco's death preventing him. Armin, on the other hand, is similar in his care for human life, but is willing to do what has to be done for the sake of his brother-in-arms, only to starkly regret it and have it wreck him emotionally afterwards. This is great. Now please do the setup better so I can rate it well objectively. In the aftermath, Armin realizes that he shot late. The other person also hesitated. Armin decides that she was probably much more human than he is. Levi tells him that going back is impossible and that he should embrace this new self. Otherwise, John would be the one who died, and you can't expect everyone to hesitate again. Levi even goes as far as to thank him. John realizes his mistake and admits that he was wrong and won't hesitate again. Levi says that he never mentioned it being about right or wrong, and that he doesn't know what the answer is himself. Hearing Levi break it down like this, with his almost cold tone, but adding in his gratitude for saving John reinforces what we know about him, and he provides a valuable perspective for his troops going forwards. Right and wrong are out the window. Who even knows anymore, and who could decide the difference? It was never about that. Survive, and help others do the same. This is some strong stuff and is one of the best scenes of the season. Back to the cringe, however, Levi and co interrogate the kidnapper. It turns out that he owns a transport company that is going under. He says the military police will end his company and kill all of their employees in accidents. They just kill people. Just normal civilians. Levi says that that would ruin the economy and countless people would starve. No doubt the government knows this, so they are content with destroying the economy and losing support. That being said, if the economy did die, I doubt they'd lose any popularity if they just give out some bread. Levi then offers to help with that if he gives up Eren and Historia's location. Anyway, we cut to... I literally forgot her name when I wrote this line. Hanji, that's it, Hanji, yes. She brings the news to Erwin, and we learn what was in Eren's note. Hanji declares that if they don't act soon, Eren will be eaten. Cut again. Never mind, we'll get to the note later. So, the merchant man pretends to turn in the Levi squad to the two military police officers who are also the ones who tortured Nick. Wait, wasn't company guy employed by Kenny? Did you ask for those two specifically? How would they not find that suspicious? Why are there only two of them? Did these two seriously show up to take on the Levi squad alone? You didn't notify Kenny or anyone else? You just left alone? This plot is so tismy. So they capture the two guys because duh, and torture them both. Armin remarks that they are all criminals who kill their enemies simply because they have different views and cannot consider themselves good people anymore. I appreciate the sentiment, but I thought you didn't like that term. Was that just an act for Annie? Alrighty then, that's kind of weird. So the military police evilman, Sonis, says that the 1st Interior Squad has cleaned up society and kept a war from breaking out in the walls, and that they should be thanked for it. You know you have a good antagonist who is not at all comically evil when they directly quote Homelander. I do want to know more about this, though. He seems to believe it's for peace. Why? Wait and see. I'm sure we will discuss it at length. He then says that he believes in the king and thinks this is justified, but didn't know how much it hurt. He asks to die, because it would be a fitting end to his blood-stained life. So, do you think it's justified? That kind of sounds like regret, but you also won't budge and tell them what the... Are you evilmen or are you conflictmen? Answer! They then give him a break, but leave the door open. They take his partner, Ralph, and make him read off of a script. They then say that they need Sonis to verify what he has said, and have Ralph say that nobody actually even liked Sonis at all and wishes he'd die, ending with him asking if his cell has a bed. I know you've been tortured, but your one defining trait is loyalty to the king, and you eat this up. Do you not at all feel suspicious of this stuff? He then tells them that Reiss is the true royal family. No, stop. Why would you tell them that? Even if you believed the act, they said they needed confirmation from you. They didn't know if they could trust Ralph. What are you doing? Kenny then finds the company man, somehow, and slits his throat. His accomplice asks if they needed Levi's location from him, and he says Levi will come to them because Levi Ackerman is just that kind of guy. Oh my goodness, Levi is an Ackerman. Okay. Also, not finding and stopping Levi now is an interesting strategy. Let's see how it pays off for him. They're only out in some rinky-dink shack in the middle of nowhere. It's not like a military police ambush with the guys with guns who's gonna stop them. Don't worry, guys. Kenny's got this, I'm sure. The company guy also had a son that Kenny just missed, by the way. Yeah, he was around the corner for some reason and witnessed that whole thing. Whoops. So, since Reiss is the true royal family, the throne is Historia's by right. Eren and Historia are likely with Rod Reiss. We cut over to Rod and see him hug Historia and apologize, quote, for everything. Historia, please save the season for me. Backstory time. Guess where she was born? On a farm! I am gonna get to use that clip a lot. She had been doing farm work herself, but her mother only stood by and read. When she learned to read and write, she took up reading to copy her mother. She read about families, loving, fighting, and caring for each other, and envied them. So one day she tried to hug her mother. Her mother was disgusted and threw her away. But Historia only smiled at having interacted with her. Some serious Perito vibes there. Her mother then states, as the first words Historia had ever received from her. Her mother left the farm afterwards and began living elsewhere. Years later, she then met her father, but Kenny shows up and performatively asks Rod whether he knew these two. Before Kenny kills her in front of her daughter, Historia's mother laments. Her father saved her from the same fate and proposed she be exiled and live a normal life instead of dead. We return to Rod apologizing and asking for forgiveness. He explains he never stopped thinking about her and that he dreamed of this moment, revealing that they are the royal bloodline. Historia tears up at hearing that someone actually cared about her and at hearing that she is important. Rod tells her that she is the only one capable of saving the world, and that they must now return to where it all began. You have my attention when it comes to this character. This could be incredible. We cut back, and the two military policemen are thrown into the same cell. Ralph asks Sonis if he's alright, and if he told them anything, causing Sonis to attack him. He screams that Ralph must have always been a traitor to the king after having done the same thing himself. Is he stupid? Hanji reveals that they simply threatened him into reading a script, causing Sonis to realize that he was the traitor all along. Yes, you dolt. He then tells them that someone will eventually replace them and wishes Hanji luck because you can't rid the world of cruelty that easily. Hanji gets frustrated at this and kicks over a table. I like that as a theme tidbit. But I want to talk about this policeman for a second. What is wrong with Sonis? Why would you tell them everything? This man is characterized by one thing and one thing alone: loyalty to the king. That and a disdain for the Survey Corps that borders on mustache twirl, but that is probably just a branch of his loyalty. So why would he even say one word in relation to the truth? They put in their script, which he believes, that they need to confirm with Sonis that Ralph told the truth at all. So why would you say anything? If you don't talk, they will have to question everything they've heard. Plus, you don't even know if he told the truth. It's stupid for the Survey Corps to provide him an out by saying they will confirm things before trusting Ralph's apparent words. But it's even dumber that he just gives everything up. You don't even let them bring up what they know to confirm or deny it. You just spill instantly. Did we just assassinate Sonis? Really? Sonis?
Houston, we have a plot device.
This man is unbelievably dumb. Can we go back to Historia now? No. A little longer with the core, I guess. So from the conversation between Amir and Bertolt, Hanji learns that titans that eat humans that can transform will become human again, and that is what Amir was. Therefore, Eren is likely to be eaten by someone who can be controlled by the government. So they leave to pay Rod Reiss a visit. Wonder how they're gonna get to him. Erwin has convinced Pixies to take a gamble and overthrow the government. But first, he wants to tell Pixies a story from his childhood. Report then arrives and Hanji tells them everything. This means the plan is to make Historia queen and show the people the truth. Pixies tells them that it's not up to them to decide, implying that the rest of the government has to join them first. Erwin points Hanji to an incident involving the Reiss family as word arrives about the company man's death. Erwin is framed for it and plays along to allow Hanji and Levi to act on their own, but not before promising to avenge company man to his family. Erwin backstory time. 2 backstories in 1 episode. Erwin's father was a teacher, and Erwin attended his lectures, but became curious at the story of humanity's apparent lost history. He brought this up to his father, who answered him privately and informed him about the contradictions in many of the government's history books. Erwin found the subject fascinating, so much so he started sharing it with his classmates. The military police caught on, and suddenly his father had died in an accident. Erwin knew what this meant. His father had a theory that the government had manipulated people's memories to change history. You lost me. What a wild theory. Why would you jump to mystical memory manipulation? There are contradictions in the history books? Must be memory manipulation. Okay, whatever. Not like he's right. Erwin says that he realized that day that the government doesn't care about justice or humanity, but their farms and land and wealth. And they'll silence anyone who gets in their way. Wow. Season 2 had good antagonists. You remember those? These guys like money, so they kill people. And this has been going on for over a century, and nobody has noticed or batted an eye. So the show is trying to do a commentary on human nature here, but you can't exactly do that with incompetent, mustache-twirling, maniacal-laughing, money-grubbing, Saturday morning cartoon villains. Where is the nuance? I thought this show was mature. Erwin then finished by stating that his goal is to prove his father right. Okay, so Erwin's ultimate goal has always been that. He is moving humanity closer to victory in an attempt to prove his father right. It recontextualizes his actions while maintaining his character. A little extra depth to a character without adding any detriment. So now the Levi squad is on the run and the public are told to turn in any Survey Corps members to the military police. We find the remaining Survey Corps squad in the forest. The transport to the Reiss estate by wagons will take the government a day, so that is their time limit. Just then, they hear some footsteps behind them. Hey, looky, it's Marlo and Hitch from Season 1. So Marlo, the only good military policeman, questions why the Survey Corps would just kill a civilian and leave, since they normally are the ones risking their lives for humanity. Hitch counters with the fact that they turned Stohess into a battleground and they had to clean up civilian corpses because of it. Annie hasn't even been found. Marlo retorts with the fact that they captured the undercover Titan, and without them, humanity likely has no future. This conversation is quite neat. It's definitely something that the characters in this world would debate about, unless they are regular citizens for some reason. Marlo is someone I see giving the benefit of the doubt, and it does tell us something about Hitch as well, being that she has a cynical worldview. An interesting conversation, especially without the full context of the Survey Corps' perspective, given how they put everyone at risk in order to potentially capture a massive threat, and, barring Eren's unnecessary antics, the damage done is an insane price to pay. I only wish the conversation went on for longer, as it was actually not only compelling, but doing natural character work as well, which we are in need of this time round. So they catch someone fetching a pail of water and get caught in a trap. Meanwhile, we find the son of Company Man on the run from the military police. He runs into a dead end, and Hanji drops out of the sky to pick him up. So, we knew about him. It is now daytime. He has been on the run for an entire night and has somehow managed to evade the military police, despite us being shown that he is terrible in the mobility department and Kenny didn't bother to finish the job. But he is then found by Hanji. So, did she plan this? Because that would mean his location was that easy to find, and yet he hadn't been caught, despite being a very important loose end. And if she did not plan it, and this was a coincidence, that is even worse. This one event determines the entire plot of the season. No, the whole show. So I don't want to hear anything about nitpicks. The plot is bad this time around. The military police also didn't hear him get scooped. Nice. Well, it's about to get even better. Hanji talks to Flegel, and we learn why he was around that corner while his father was murdered. He was pissing. And I don't mean that metaphorically, rhetorically, poetically, or theoretically, or in any other fancy way. Ladies and gentlemen, the entire story of Attack on Titan hinges on this man pissing at that exact moment and timing it perfectly to not be discovered by Kenny. Even though Kenny would have likely been tracking him for a little while, so he would have known you disappeared and tracked you down, then killed you. Not to mention you had just arrived at that town, so you've been gone for no time at all. I can't get over that. The story is quite literally pissed. That's comedy and poetry at the same time. Shakespeare is helicoptering in his grave right now. On my initial watch through of this show, I gave Season 1 an 8 and Season 3 a 5. Past me, bless his heart, thought there was only 3 points out of 10 separating these seasons. Season 1, Say What I Will and Have, did not have to rely on piss to survive. This is peak fiction. I don't want to be an anime fan anymore. So in trying to convince Flegel to get the truth out there by putting himself at risk, these morons start shouting at each other so they have to move. I can't even be mad, I'm still laughing about the piss that saved the world. Anyway, they interrogate those two, and Hitch goes off about how they wreaked havoc at Stohess and got Annie killed. Levi then reveals that Annie was the Titan, and promises to release the two of them. This breaks Hitch's brain. Marlo asks if he can help, since he believes in their cause. Levi declines, not because he doesn't trust him, but because he doesn't know if he could face the government like his squad can. Hitch and Marlo getting more stuff. I like these two. Here's to more scenes with them and less piss. John takes the two out back and threatens to shank them. They beg for their lives, but he rushes at them and trips. Marlo grabs the knife and Hitch makes a break for it. John mixes in his humor into his act as well, which is a nice touch. John then holds Marlo at gunpoint, only for Marlo to drop the knife. Hitch then comes back and swings a tree branch like Big Dan Teague.
Don't get it, Big Dan.
But Marlo calls her off, knowing it was a test. He then says he will try to convince Levi of their loyalty. That's what I'm talking about. So, rapid fire. John is still great, and it is an extremely strong character moment to have him risk his life to test their beliefs, mixing in some personality into his act as well. Marlo admits that he regrets joining the military police, so he basically gave up on changing it, and instead wants to dedicate himself to a cause he believes in, even if he is executed for it. Hitch coming back to save Marlo shows that she also has a moral compass that she can't compromise on. This causes them to lead the team to a checkpoint and allow them to raid it for supplies, also netting them an interior policeman to interrogate. Now, of course, I have to dock points for coincidence because if these specific two didn't run to the Levi squad, GG's. So that's another decent scene with a botched setup, but who's counting? Back over to the piss boy, and he's been cornered in an abandoned apartment. I know this because the policeman told me. They get ready to execute him, and he asks why his dad had to die. They say their job is just to off him, not talk. And I agree wholeheartedly. And he then asks nicely, and they tell him, sure, man. He then reveals that this was a trap, and Hanji and friend jump the guys. Hanji also dodges a bullet, by the way. It's not even an Ackerman thing. Oh yeah, the place wasn't abandoned, and like 100 people heard all of that. Very cool. Good job, guys. So, why does this rando military policeman know the situation? Would you not just send him after Flegel, no questions asked? He even says it wasn't his squad that did the deed. The government just told all of their soldiers the needed context so that this random guy could explain it to a populated area where everyone was conveniently in their houses at the exact moment he took the time to explain everything to the guy he was going to murk. The Survey Corps didn't tell them about this because none of the people are on their side. They were just inside their homes in broad daylight for no reason. The plot is so good, guys. I'm getting mad. This isn't funny like the piss thing. It just hurts. Show me Historia or Marlo or Hitch, John, something, please. Flegel then tells everyone the Reeves Company will protect them and comes into his own as a leader. Okay. Levi interrogates this guy and he drops that Kenny is an Ackerman. Levi did not know this because Kenny was, quote, light on the details. He quite literally shows up and explains who he is, what he thinks, his goals, his traits, etc. to someone he was going to kill. So yeah, I don't believe you. Erwin is set to appear before the king and likely to be executed, so he asks Niles, a military policeman, to side with pixies. He sits down before the king and is asked for his last words. Erwin makes one final plea to keep the Survey Corps alive or everyone will die. They do not listen, and just as he is sentenced to death, Wall Rose has been attacked by the colossal titan. Pixies jumps into it immediately and gives orders to help the refugees, only for evil government man to tell him to close off the wall. He says it's to avoid a civil war, but also injects that the government cannot lose their control of the people and that their authority is absolute, so you have to listen to him. That'll get the people on your side for sure. So naturally they get betrayed. Pixies and the Premier confront them, and they say that the people will still be on their side. They then capture the remaining interior police in one fell swoop and explain the plan to coronate Historia. What a pathetic and incompetent government, yet it still took the plot's assistance to bring them down. Convenience is carrying harder than Minecraft Steve. Flegel causes the journalists to turn, news reaching both the general population and causing them to 180 their loyalty, as well as the Corps. The piss that saved the people. That's too good. So Hanji brings the location of the Reiss estate to the Corps, and it's off to the confrontation. Meanwhile, Erwin and Dallas discuss their reasoning for doing the coup. At first, Erwin contemplates whether leaving the current government in power and trusting Levi and co. was the correct play. Dallas asks why he didn't do it since it would have been much less of a burden for him to die. Dallas says he'd have done it anyway because he hates their self-importance and doesn't even care about humanity. Erwin reaffirms that he just wants to see his father's theory through. Keep that in mind. Anyways, it's off to the races. They are in a wagon. Time is kind of the essence since Eren's gonna be eaten and it takes a day by wagon to get there, remember? Now, wait. It takes a day for Rod to get there by wagon, but you're further out of the way, so by wagon it'll take even longer. It took a day for Rod to get them there from the city, but you were in the middle of a forest. Did you happen to choose a forest that was next to the estate? Seriously? We gonna account for this? Or, as the Survey Corps head off, Hanji explains the incident with the Reiss family that was mentioned earlier. So the fake story is that the Reiss family was gathered together in a chapel and bandits set that chapel on fire, killing everyone but Rod. That was only days before Historia's mother was killed. Definitely not a coincidence. So he sought out Historia as a backup. Now the chapel was destroyed, but stone cannot burn. Right, Star Wars? Rod later rebuilt this chapel with his own fortune. Hanji theorizes that some Titan shenanigans occurred there. That story is extremely suspicious, and though it requires information that only our characters have, does not sound like something any smart person would have realistically made up. Why would you draw attention towards the chapel whatsoever? You want everyone to be away from it. Say even a random person gets curious and they stumble into that basement. Then you have a problem. Also, Rod sent Historia to eventually join the training corps after his family had died. What? So this means one of two things. One, Rod had compassion on her, which I doubt. Or two, Rod just wanted to use her later in her life. So naturally he sent her to the training corps, where people more often than not die in training or graduate just to be eaten by a Titan. Is Rod stupid? Wait, I think I know this one. Yes! So Eren has been chained up and gagged. Maybe Rod did hire the pedo. Armin asked that if Titans eat humans with Titan powers to gain Titan power, then what human Titan did Titan Eren eat to gain Titan powers as a human? So Historia shows up and explains to Eren that Rod is actually the good guy here. Rod pulls up and explains the rest himself. This place is made of Titan hardening, although Eren doesn't realize it somehow. Eren does seem to recognize the place though, and Rod tells him that he should, but he's never been here. We'll get there. I can't laugh yet. I've got to hold it in. So they manipulate his memories and show him visions of the truth. Erwin's father's shot in the dark was correct. Of course. Rod asks him if he now remembers the sin that his father committed. More Historia backstory time. So Historia had a half-sister named Frida, who taught her to read and write and told her to be like Krista, a book character, who was kind and people loved her for it. That's like the thing. That's the thing that I recognize. That's the thing. However, her sister would always erase her memories of herself. Touching Eren has restored those memories. No pause. Historia asks where Frida is now, and Rod lets her know that she died, her and every other race, by the hands of none other than Grisha Yeager. Oh yeah, here we go. So Grisha pulled up for some reason and transformed into a Titan and beat Frida's Titan. Her Titan is the best, but it was untrained. We will learn about her Titan's abilities and how they were the worst idea this show implemented in the future, because it gets worse, so remember that for now. And Kenny's here. He's asking why they're just chatting. I agree, Kenny. So they didn't know about the coup or anything, but why did we wait so long to begin with? Are you telling me that Eren needs to be awake for the memorytisms? Why would that be the case? Kenny and his squad are sent to guard the entrance as the racists proceed. We see Kenny scowl at Rod as he leaves. Pixies then takes his turn to explain his motivation and says that, unlike Erwin, he actually cares about humanity's future. What? Hold up. Erwin does not defend himself either. Earlier I referred to this as a recontextualization, thinking it was an extra motive for him, but humanity's victory was the primary goal still. But this scene wants me to think that actually it never mattered to him, or at the very least was secondary. Only finding out his father's insane theory was correct mattered. Every gamble, every sacrifice, every promise was for his father's dream, and he has no reaction to it being confirmed. Okay, so you're telling me that he was willing to die to that military policeman in Trost or to the Titan in Season 2, except he actually didn't want to die that whole time and was just lying. So he's just a really good leader and liar? As a motive, I think that'd be okay. As opposed to a good man and an intelligent leader, willing to and forced to make sacrifices for the people he cares about to the point of disregarding his own life, he is actually a selfish but talented man who just cares about proving his father right and learning the secrets of the world over everything else. I find the idea fascinating, but I take issue with him just brushing off his father guessing correctly. I think his character, though, is intact from it, despite Season 2 gutting his intelligence. So along the way, the Survey Corps is talking about the Interior Police's ODM gear. Oh, we'll get there too. Hanji also asks how Levi knew so little about Kenny. The reason is because the audience wasn't watching yet. Levi asks if Eren's GF and him are related. Levi asks if there's ever been a time she felt a power awaken inside her. She thinks back to the scene with the kidnappers and says yes. And Levi tells her he and Kenny have too. We now get Kenny backstory time. At least some of it. Kenny asks his grandpa why the Ackermans were so persecuted. His grandpa eventually budges and says that the king fears the Ackerman family and the Orientals because they both are immune to memory manipulation, just like the nobles, except they were not loyal to the king. So both of Eren's GF's parents are immune to memory manipulation. I sure hope she never has her memories manipulated. That would be pretty dumb. Kenny's soldiers rally together and express their belief that Kenny's dream can change the world. Outside, the Survey Corps prepares their raid with some new artillery. Rod preps the syringe like the one Grisha used in Eren's memories and offers to reunite Historia with her sister. At the entrance, the plan starts off a bit dumb. So they drop a bunch of barrels filled with oil down the stairs, and Sasha runs out and shoots a fire arrow at it. She can't do that. Shoot her or something. So they let her get that shot off, and the barrel explodes and creates a smoke screen, and they also fire off a bunch of smoke signals to cloud the Interior Police's vision. Levi scouts their numbers out above the smoke, and there are 35 total. I guess they got more enlists. That, or Levi somehow avoided 35 of these guys plus Kenny. Oh wait, they even killed some, so there was more. They spread out to get away from the smoke as Sasha destroys more barrels. This allows John to sneak up on some guys and kill them. Okay, neat payoff, but let's talk about the new ODM gear. So, in this little moment, we get a narration about a teensy-weensy, extremely idiotic design flaw. So the barrel of the gun and the hook that shoots out are fixed to the same position, meaning that while pulling yourself forward, your gun is fixed forward and you are vulnerable from behind. Okay, so why in the ever-deafening mollusk would you design it that way? The interior police are able to get into the interior police because they are the best of the best, specifically with ODM gear. So why would you change the design? The only reason I could think of is that you'd be able to aim the hooks a little bit more precisely, but there's never a moment where that advantage is brought up nor comes into play. The regular ODM gear has these barrels or boxes that shoot hooks out, allowing you free reign over your weapon while letting you aim with your body. So why restrict yourself like this? Just keep the box design and give yourself guns. Not only would these people be better with those, but they are better designed and don't have that weakness. Might I mention, this is called the anti-personnel ODM gear, and it is weak to personnel. This government is so dumb. The other weakness is that they have to reload after 2 shots, 1 per gun. Do they really not have the technology to fire more than 1? If it's because of the bullets, why not use regular bullets? You have guns in this universe already. Who designed these? Wait, you do have multi-shot guns. Look at how many shots fly when these 2 guys fire at Levi. Whoops! Guess we forgot. Wanted to check the manga out of curiosity because I figured the animators just filled up a bit more time with more bullets, forgetting what the repercussions of that would be, and yep, only 4 bullets hit the guy in the original scene. In other words, this is an anime exclusive contradiction. Don't you feel lucky? Anyways, the Survey Corps is clapping their cheeks, the Ackermans with an insanely high kill count, and yes, dodging bullets consistently. They're just not human. To be clear, if they want to be so superhuman that they can dodge bullets, they can. But to give them reactions that good craps on everything else. They should never get hit. Ever. Levi almost kills the leader until Kenny arrives and stops him in his tracks. His warning shot breaks the Titan-hardened skin pillar. Might want to look into that. I can think of a situation where breaking Titan hardenings would be useful, Annie? We know swords can't break the extra hardening, but what about super mega ultra awesome guns? Levi picks up an oil sack and engages Kenny. Kenny says good grief. So Kenny disappears behind a pillar, and instead of using the element of surprise, Kenny taunts Levi before shooting, and just shoots the wooden platform in his path. I get that you like to have fun, but if this is how you carry yourself in even-skilled fights, I'm surprised nobody's blown your head off yet. Then he goes at Levi with a knife. Just shoot him, dude. Kenny then actually tries to shoot Levi, and Levi throws his sack at Kenny in an attempt to oil him up. The bullets go through the sack and it bursts into flames. But don't worry, the bullets just don't exist anymore. Yeah, he throws them in the path of the shot aimed at himself, they go through, and they just vanish. Okay, sure. Also, we see that the gun here clearly fires a spread. We have been dodging spreads of bullets. Oh. Also, I see no dimension in which we can fire spreads of bullets and have ODM gear as a thing that exists, but not multiple rounds of one. So the fire allows Levi to emerge from cover, but Kenny blocks it with his knife. However, he loses the clash and gets cut. Hey Kenny, remember when you could block it with your guns 2 seconds ago? No? This fight is so good, man. So the leader lady masterfully baits Hanji by firing 2 shots and hooks her instead of reloading. She then splats Hanji against the wall. So she's dead. She's not even an Ackerman. Yeah, her spine is gone and she's gonna bleed out. Everyone pauses to react to this, and this causes the interior police to freely fall back to the safety of a net. Nice one, guys. Not like the show ends if you don't stop them. It's funny because it does. Over to Rod, and he explains what exactly this ritual entails. You see, a Titan's power created the walls and this room and altered the world's memories. This was the founding Titan, which was owned by the racist puffs and stolen by Grisha. It also contains the memories of the world and literally everything. So, genuine question. How do you beat someone with this power? You know, being able to alter memories entirely? Oh, she was stupid. She forgot to use her memory erasure powers that she used on her sister on an attacker. Because she dumb. Doesn't surprise me at this point. In addition, what do you mean eliminate all Titans from the world? If that was a power you had for 107 years, why haven't you done that already? Maybe the dumb runs in the family. Don't worry, we'll address it. He then says that power is in Eren now, but only the Reiss family can access it. He also adds that as long as Eren has it, this hell will never come to an end. Then why didn't Frida or her uncle end it already? 107 years, you... Fup! Historia, please bring this up. Historia realizes this means she's here to eat Eren until Kenny interrupts. Kenny asks for confirmation that the power only works with the Reiss monkeys. In this exchange, we learn that Kenny was taken in by Yuri Reiss in some very natural exposition again, and that he planned to take the power for himself. Historia interrupts, and Kenny calls her pathetic and informs her what her father plans. She knows this, of course, and responds confidently with, and launches into a speech about what she has to do now. Kenny tells her father is a pathetic coward who forced his brother, daughter, and is now trying to force Historia because he didn't want to become a Titan himself, also reminding her of everything she got put through because of him. Rod replies that he definitely should just never become a Titan without elaborating in any way. That'll convince her you're not a coward. If you elaborate, she might listen. Rod thanks Kenny for his service and tells him to get a life. Kenny says that just bore him, so he goes and cuts Eren to try and make them fight each other. This causes Rod to beg Historia to inject the syringe and consume Eren. Historia hesitates, though, because he hasn't transformed yet. Eren has been broken by the truth and no longer has the will to fight. This launches him into a pretty good speech about how all of this shouldn't have happened, how his father and him have done irreparable damage to the world, and none of the events from Season 1 onwards could have happened. How much suffering his father and his existence have caused. Compliments to the performance as well. He ends it begging Historia to end him and save the world. This is more or less Eren's first character scene this season, and it hits. The disturbing truth that his existence has disrupted everything kills his idealism. The idea that he is the very reason no one could prevent the Titan's attack and subsequent murders, despite his absolute determination to rid the world of that suffering himself, cannot be reconciled in his mind. He can only fall back on one thing: that someone make it right. Historia is shaking in response, telling Eren that she was happy when she was called a normal person by him and then thinking of Ymir. Historia then makes me love her more. She asks why the Reiss family didn't destroy the Titans and save humanity at any other point. Thank you, my goat! Now, let's hear Rod's counterpoint. He adds he doesn't know why, but the one who has the memories of the world will know. He and his brother used to beg their father to do just that, but for some reason he didn't. He came to a conclusion. The one who wields this power is God, omnipotent, knowing what's for the best. So God lost to Grisha, despite having powers of memory manipulation and total control of all Titans, yet she lost to a Titan because she was stupid. Must have been a mega turbo-tard god. Rod tries to inject the syringe himself, but Historia remembers Ymir's wish that she live a proud life. So she destroys the syringe by smashing it and chews out Rod for manipulating her, finishing with the phrase, "Yes! Yes!" So, let's get it. Now Historia has had very little with which to define herself after losing Ymir. That is, until she learned about her family. Her family offered her a new purpose and new people who cared about her, and she was willing to believe it for a while. She wanted more than anything to believe it was true, still incapable of living for herself even after all this time. This is who she was meant to be, who she always was. Now all that she has to do is take it. If she can defeat Eren, she can finally become Historia Reiss, god of the new world. Except something about this has taken Eren's will to fight. Someone like Eren Yeager, who she not only cares about, but is defined by his will to fight, loses it. He regrets that he was even born since he has caused so much suffering, and now only wishes to die so something worthwhile can arise from his life. An emotion all too familiar to Krista. This, combined with the memories of Ymir and the lessons they tried to teach each other, breaks her free of her delusion and allows her to fulfill Ymir's wish. Live a proud life. But this life she could live would kill her individuality. This, however, is no longer Krista Lenz nor Historia Reiss, but it is who she is. I know it sounds pretentious, but it's true, and I didn't even do it in the video essayist voice. Back to the scene, and she is rushing to Eren's rescue after grabbing Rod's bag for the keys and drops it beside Eren. Eren begs her to kill him, but she shuts him down and rants about how she doesn't care about humanity anymore while freeing him. She says she will let him escape before destroying everything. Don't know how she plans to do that, but her performance is great. Rod uses the formula on the floor to transform into a Titan himself in an attempt to salvage the ritual. Wait, the formula evaporates when it hits the air? Okay, that explains the syringe, but then why would you use glass for it? We use glass in real life to check the substance we are injecting into ourselves because bubbles of air going into your veins can kill you, but that accomplishes nothing here. You know what's in the bottle already, and having any air in it isn't an issue, as you can just drink it and turn straight into a titan. Why not make the syringe something much sturdier? Rod transforms as the Survey Corps attempts to regain the offensive. So there is a hole above the Survey Corps that leads further into the cave, but it is blocked off. Not sure why you design your ritualistic sacrificing place with 2 entrances, but good on you for blocking it at least? So Rod's transformation breaks it open because of course it does, so they can get in now. Historia again denies Eren's request and explains her motivation to help those who feel worthless, setting him free. But unfortunately, the transformation blows her away when she finishes with his restraints and... How did you get here? Eren's GF just teleports here and saves her. How did you get past the interior police? How did you get this close given the strength of the transformation? The wind would keep you from using ODM gear. Did she walk? Not even Historia is safe from plot armor. Never mind, everyone is here now. I hate this game. They then say, then where are they, Connie? Did the entrance at the top of the cave lead directly here? Really? Probably should have put that net on the entrance that leads directly to the ceremony grounds. But that's just me. In addition, how fricker-fracking lucky is it that the tunnel itself doesn't collapse when everything is breaking apart? You'd be kinda screwed if that happened. Pain. Rod's Titan is bigger than the Colossal Titan and causes the cave to collapse little by little. Now we get to another good moment, subverted by a massively contrived setup. Again. Eren feels powerless, that he can't do anything to save his friends, and he sees a glass bottle that dropped out of Rod's bag and didn't shatter and is also just nearby enough to be reachable. Ugh. Was the knight in shining armor. Do I even need to explain why that's bad? It's also labeled armor. That's just funny. Stay with me now. Levi tells Eren that he's gonna have to make the choice again between trusting his friends and himself. We get a flashback just in case you didn't know what he meant. And Eren resolutely decides that this time he'll believe in himself. He transforms, having taken the armor juice, and finally gets hard. Man, I wish I cared about that payoff. It's a good idea. No, what? I'm tired of saying that. It would work if, A or B. Isolate the payoff and, it's good. But most times it just hits hollow. The story itself is still broken. A bunch of Kenny's men get dead as the cave collapses on them, but not Kenny. He's fine. Ish. We now get a look at the CGI monstrosity that is Rod's Titan. Eren, post getting hard, is pretty tired, so we see his GF and John break him out. Nani? Did they just break him out of Titan hardness? You can do that? We knew it whittles it down, but that right there is a crater. Are we sure you can't break out Annie? Maybe an Ackerman just needs to give it a college try. Is anybody gonna say anything about this? No? Typical. Levi tells him that this means they can now retake Wall Maria. Eren is conflicted as he doesn't know what will be in the basement anymore. They get out now, and then Erwin points out that Hanji's injury doesn't look life-threatening. Nobody is human. If Historia splatted against the wall, would she have even got a scratch? Hanji then does a let me get this straight and recaps a bit, but adds that the will of the first king will literally take over someone's consciousness and prevent them from saving everyone. So, the will of the first king wants to do nothing about Grisha attempting to take it. But we can't let you save people now. No, that's a bit too far. What an incredibly arbitrary thing. Eren brings up that they still have the option to let Rod eat him and use the Founding Titan if they can find a way to undo the First King's brainwashing. Eren says he is prepared to do that. And I am sitting here like, what are you talking about? You do not know anything about this. Do you not think the Reiss family might have tried that in the 107 years, especially since we have references of Reiss family members who were vehemently against the whole do-nothing thing? And frick, he could just alter everyone's memories and you lose. Historia then points this out, but I take issue with everyone acting like it was a legitimate option prior. Hanji, Armin, Levi, Erwin are all standing here, and yet none of them say anything until she does. Eren saying it is fine though, since he is being a bit of a doomer right now. Historia then points out that Grisha very likely meant for the Founding Titan to get out of the Reiss family's hands so that it can be used by someone who can save everyone. It must be the only way forward. Eren's GF then tells Eren that must be the reason why he left them the basement key. We at least took the care not to let Eren have that thing on him this season, which is worthy of something, since there's no shot the government would let you keep it. But all of this means that they can't leave Rod alive, as he is heading for the town in the Orvud district. Historia unfortunately says that the reason she went along with Rod and almost killed Eren was because she wanted to believe him. She does this as an apology, which is definitely owed, but we didn't need an explanation. It was pretty well implied in the cave already. There was definitely a subtler way to get this across. You did it a lot more in Season 2. In this context, this is definitely a dialogue nitpick, but it is indicative of a larger problem this season has had. She then gives them permission to kill her dad.
Based, your dad sucks.
They make it back to the Orvud district where Rod is heading, and Levi asks on behalf of Erwin that Historia become queen. Then all the others point out that defying her father was like defying her duty and her role, but she'd be forced into another role this way. I like pointing out the second part, but I again think the first part was already apparent and we didn't really need the exposition. Surprisingly, Historia agrees to take on this assignment, but on one condition. She has to be the one to decide her own fate. She gets into gear, ready to jump into action. So aside from the dumb spelling out to the audience what her arc was occasionally, Historia has been handled rather well this season. Which, you know, is kinda weird because this season makes less sense than a Kanye tweet.
I hate these niggas more than a Nazi.
Erwin is asked about evacuation plans and responds that the city will stay as is. The Titan is heading straight for populated areas, so evacuating deeper would just make things worse. They hold an evacuation drill just in case, though. On the way here, Eren was unable to again use the coordinate to control Rod. Maybe there's a jar that says coordinate that he just needs to chug. As he edges closer, the cannon fire proves ineffective against Rod, so it's time for some bigger guns. While they prepare that, Erwin asks Historia to get off of the front lines to ensure that she can become queen if they survive. Historia shuts down the idea, instead opting to use this opportunity to get the people on her side. Eren beats himself up for ever believing he was special, both figuratively and literally. His friends try to stop him, but he says he's giving a useless brat what he deserves, and that he honestly hopes he's dead. More of that theme of identity and individualism shining through. Effectively executed in this case, might I add. So Rod has made it to the wall, and just before a cannon volley can hit his nape, the wind changes direction for literally no reason, and the steam blocks their way. Rod is then able to get over the wall, and that is horrifying, my lord. His intestines fall out and everything. So it's time for the Survey Corps to jump into action. Eren transforms with a smile on his face, determined to make sure nobody goes through what happened at Shiganshina again. They fire some new artillery, bomb carts that hook closer to the target and explode. That's pretty smart, making use of the heat that Titans produce. Eren rushes in. Now he has a sack, and he throws it into the Titan's mouth to blow up its nape from the inside out. The plan was that hopefully its mouth would be agape, but since it dragged itself around, it did that part for them. Eren then says jackpot. Heh. The bombs go off, and now that its pieces are flying everywhere, they have to find and cut the nape, which is luckily always the same size no matter the Titan. So they hook on to the tiny fleshy chunks and search for it. Or maybe not. They fly now? What did you hook onto there? Does ODM gear have that much range? Huh? It's also insane if you're able to hook onto these tiny chunks from this far with that amount of accuracy. That's kinda dumb. Dang, I was just starting to like this plan too. Whatever. I'm sure there are 0 instances in future where this range on the ODM gear would be integral. Historia happens to be the one who finds the nape and cuts it. Theme relevant though it may be, coincidence it still is. As she does, more memories pour in from Rod of multiple Reiss-isms failing to deny the will of the first king. The nape then explodes. I don't know why, it just does. Things just explode. This causes Historia to fall to a wagon. She just happened to land on a wagon. Are you kidding me? Not the plot armor, George. Something should at least be broken. Don't stand up and be fine. 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 No! Historia relishes in the fact that she is acting of her own free will and finally learning who she really is. She declares herself to be the true queen of the walls and gets in the good graces of the people. Meanwhile, we see a bit more of Kenny now. He is looking bad, his life flashing before his eyes. And Levi is just here. Oh, okay. I guess it takes a while for Kenny to bleed out then. I mean, the Ackermans are basically superheroes at this point, so why not? Levi calls off his backup to have a one-on-one talk with the man who raised him. Levi determines that his injuries will kill him, and that honestly surprises me. Kenny tells him, "Are you sure about that?" as he displays the Titan serum that he was planning to use to take the founding Titan. Don't know where you kept that case, but between the slash, burns, debris, must have been some spot. Maybe it's just an incredibly durable case, who knows? What's inside is pretty valuable after all, I could see that. Kenny backstory time, for real now. So he, after his rampage in the capital, attempted to kill Yuri Reiss, but was stopped by his Titan powers. Yuri realized that he was an Ackerman and spared him, despite his multiple attempts on his life. He begs for his forgiveness for the persecution the Ackermans faced for the race's sake, but adds that he cannot die just yet. yet. Yuri laments that he could not even bring peace within the smallest areas of the walls. Seeing the true king bow to him changed everything in Kenny, and he worked under Yuri then after. This made the Ackerman family less sought after, but still not able to walk in public as an Ackerman, even though Eren's GF's real name is known by the government. One day he sought after Kuchel, an Ackerman in hiding, and his sister, only to find her dead, and L from Death Note sitting in her room. He took young L under his wing, and he evolved into Levi. There's also this scene where he meets Sonus during a church meeting, and Sonus reaffirms his reverence of the king. Hey, Sonus, why'd you tell him then, loser? Sonus asks Kenny why he allied with Yuri. Kenny replies that maybe it's because Yuri is the strongest. He expands, saying that the only way you can get to the top is to prove you're the strongest. Power is all you need. In Yuri's last moments, Yuri explains that he wants to create a lasting paradise for humanity's fading twilight. He goes further, saying that violence is the unavoidable truth of this world, but it wasn't violence that brought Kenny and him together. Whatever it was that made them friends, Yuri believes in that. Kenny never agreed with that philosophy, though. Sure enough, Frida came to preach that same philosophy, causing Kenny to believe that maybe having that much power just makes you benevolent. Maybe even he could be made that way by it. Kenny, when faced with the opportunity to survive as a Titan, now understands Yuri. He sees that everyone has made something their drug. Wealth, fame, power. They had to get drunk on something to survive. Levi asks him why he left, and Kenny responds he was never cut out to be a parent, and then gives Levi the Titan serum before breathing his last. I will talk about Kenny later in the overview since we're near the end here. Anyways, Historia is then crowned and everyone is happy about it because of her stunt and help from the Reeves company. We get a very neat scene where Historia fulfills a promise that she made to Eren's GF. You see, Eren's GF once asked her that, once she becomes queen, she hit Levi for her. She then revs up to do exactly this, Eren urging her to stop and everyone else goading her into it. We see Levi in the hall and Historia steals herself and punches him. She taunts him, daring him to hit her back, only for him to crack a smile and thank them for it. I like that a lot. There are very few characters here, like genuinely who is Connie, but this feels like a family in this one moment. We then catch up with our actually good antagonist and see Dio. He has beaten both Reiner and Bertolt in a fight, building up his intimidation factor. He tells them that they can wait to save Annie later, and now they stand at Wall Maria to retrieve the coordinate. Get ready for that next time, that's gonna be a ride. 2 months into her reign, and Historia is taking care of the needy. Whoops, only ended up using that twice. She is using her power to help those in and out of the underground. Historia then catches up with Eren, and we learn he is making progress in getting hard. Eren remarks that taking too long risks another raid from Reiner and Bertolt. Historia asks what he'd do if that happened, and he says he would have to kill them. Historia hopes that they can get more information so that they can know they made the right choices. But she looks to the smiling children and reassures herself that they have. Eren then compliments her, causing Historia to blush. Then Eren's GF gets jealous and stops them. I am not big on shipping, like at all. I find it very cringe. But Eren and Historia have a lot in common and plenty of traits they could admire in each other. In addition, there is chemistry in their interactions. This seems to be pushing that idea. This only reminds me of how personalityless Eren's GF is, to the point of where this character, who has had less than half of the show to interact with Eren, has infinitely more potential as a romance than a childhood friend who was saved from human traffickers singularly by him because of the difference in writing quality between these two. So the military is purged of corruption and the underground ore is put into use in housing. Oh, you can mine the hardened skin? That reminds me, you guys should probably look into breaking Annie out. We've seen a lot of ways to break hardening this season. We should probably have some recognition of that. Nothing massive, just like a throwaway line about everything they've tried not working, whatever. Marlo joins the Survey Corps now, and we also meet Giorno Giovanna. He's gonna be important. We also learned that he was from the 104th this whole time, and I am left wondering where the hubbub you were this whole time. All of this was planned out, right? Eren contemplates the idea that Titans are just humans stuck in a nightmare like Ymir was, that they have been killing without thinking about it much at all. Before it can actually get interesting, Eren's GF tells him to stop thinking about it. You have barely been present in this season and you still managed to piss me off. John brings up that there is a man Eren remembers meeting his father, and Eren can't shake the feeling that he knows who that was. Before he offers a suggestion, John says,
Historia の手ばっか握りやがって。
Really pushing that now, huh? John suggests something like hitting his head to jog his memory, and for some stupid reason, he specifically says,
行間の続きでも食らえばいいんだよ。
what a random callback. Of all the ways to get head trauma, you chose that one specifically. The Commandant was the guy. Oh, of course. You know, I really hate it when they do that stupid thing. You know, a character goes, we need a solution, and then character says something that just happens to trigger the solution, usually followed by, name, you're a genius. It's so lazy. So they go to meet Keith, the Commandant, to ask him about Eren's father. He then regales the tale of how he met Grisha. While he was patrolling outside the walls 20 years ago, he saw a random person. 20 years ago, huh? Given he disappeared 5 years ago, that means Grisha was inside the walls with his Titan for 15 years. Grisha had his Titan power for 15 years. Just felt like pointing that out for no particular reason. This person seemed clueless, asking him if he was fighting outside the walls. He claimed to remember nothing, except for his name, Grisha Yeager, and then that he was a doctor. He really knew nothing about the inside of the walls, but he admired the Survey Corps and their desire for freedom. Keith wanted to impress people, and most importantly, Carla. Hearing that he was destined for greatness from Grisha, he felt determined to prove himself and become commander. But he failed. Carla married Grisha, leading to him giving over command to Erwin and chewing out Carla in his fury. He knows special people exist, but he was never one of them. He was there after Grisha gave his power to Eren, though he didn't witness it directly, and carried Eren back to the shelter. Eren says that he isn't special either, just the son of a special man. Keith then relays something that Carla said to him.
特別じゃなきゃいけないんですか?
To not be better than someone else is meaningless.
だからこの子はもう偉いんです。この世界に生まれてきてくれたんだから。
Keith says though he tried, he couldn't do anything to stop Eren. Remember that broken device during training camp? Yeah, that was Keith. I guess because he wanted to stop him. I don't know why. Wouldn't you want to know whether he was special instead of interfering? Whatever, one more episode to go. We then see that they've decided to let Levi keep the Titan serum as he is the best soldier and can make on-the-spot decisions. Levi then asks Erwin what happens when he fulfills his dream. Erwin says he doesn't even know what he'd do next. So they've essentially determined that Grisha likely came from outside the walls. Erwin adds that Grisha likely couldn't tell Eren what was down there even if he wanted to. Levi then attempts to convince Erwin to stay off the battlefield, that is Wall Maria, so that humanity can fall back on something should the operation to retake it fail. Erwin says no because he wants to be there personally when the secrets of the world are discovered. Levi even asks if that's more important to him than humanity's victory, and Erwin says that it is. Pixies was right. Levi chooses to trust Erwin's judgment. After the Survey Corps has a party, our main three sit on some steps and discuss things. Eren is back to his usual self, now having realized and come to terms with who he is and with determination to get their lives back. He takes pride in his unique strengths now, echoing Armin's arc in Season 1, and says that everybody is probably unique because they're needed in times like this. More wholesome theme-tisms. Armin then brings up his dream to see the ocean and everything else out there. Let's hope he can. Wait, how would that end up in a history book about the outside world? So picture yourself as a tyrannical, memory-erasing government concerned that people will seek the truth. How could you ever let that happen with that ability? Oops. So there's this big send-off for the Survey Corps now for the first time ever. Erwin hypes up the crowd as the music roars and the operation to retake Wall Maria begins now. Oh yeah, can't wait. We get a shot of Reiner and Bertolt looking out over the wall as the ending theme plays, followed by a JoJo-style interruption of the ending theme, and I see that Beast Titan smirk again. We get a tease of everything going downhill, Levi yelling and punching people, and Eren's GF trying to kill him. What awaits us next time is, apparently, one of the greatest seasons of anime or television as a whole, so tune in for that. But that ends off my coverage of Attack on Titan Season 3. That was monumentally painful, all things considered. Now then, what to break down first? How about world building? Let's see. So in this season, we learn that for 107 years, this comically evil government has been fostering a corrupt military regime, mercilessly killing people, covering things up, etc., etc. It has supporters with blind loyalty that it somehow fostered until they don't have that loyalty inexplicably. Wait a minute, why do you need to kill people when you have memory manipulation on a massive scale as a power in your complete control? But Ninjask, I hear you say, they only kill people when they lose their memory manipulation power. They probably only started doing it as a backup when they lost the founding Titan. So, how old do you think Erwin is? Erwin already looked like current day Erwin when Keith gave him commander rank, and Eren was 10 when that happened. That was before Shiganshina. They just killed his dad when mass memory manipulation was an option. You literally could have just erased everything from Erwin and his dad's head, and suddenly, we don't have Erwin's motive, and we're out of a show. Nice one, guys. They also leave these wondrous descriptions of the outside world in their history books, just asking for people to aspire towards escape. Now, there is a throwaway line in Season 1 where Armin presents the book to Eren. Eren tells him that it is illegal and that they will be arrested if the military police discover it. Okay, I kinda get that. We've been in the walls for little over a century, and as such, they haven't been able to censor every book in existence. Except, we now have the method by which they enforce this censorship. Literal memory manipulation on a mass scale. How could there ever be any history books remaining if that is the case? You'd probably have to conjure up some absurd mental gymnastics in order to make it make a lick of sense. I would run through the possible ways it could have happened and how absurd they are, but the show will explain the logistics of how the kingdom in the walls came to be in more detail later. So we'll tackle that when it shows up. Although you can probably tell from how I bring it up that it doesn't help. Even further than that, why would you even establish the Survey Corps in the first place? You don't want people to know, so just don't let them leave. Say it's too dangerous outside the walls, because it literally is. But Ninjask, I hear you say, they need the Survey Corps so that they don't run out of food and land. That's even one of the things you complimented back in Season 1, remember? That was before we knew what they could do, you hypothetical hippopotamus. Yes, if they didn't have the Survey Corps, they would run out of land. As such, they would either need to control the population growth constantly, or be killing en masse every so often. Two things that they likely would not be opposed to. You could just wipe everyone's memory every single time afterwards. Alternatively, you could expand outwards, using your Titan controlling abilities to prevent any of them from interfering. There is no justifiable way the Survey Corps should exist. Period. The church is also in on the whole thing, worshipping the walls and knowing the secrets of everything for some reason as well. No, I still don't know why they're in the know at all. That literally just adds risk that someone else figures out your secrets.
Which is exactly what happens.
Also, all of the military policemen are informed of the goings-on of everything for some reason. Why does the random military police guy know about what Kenny's squad in the interior police did? They would have had to have gone out of their way to inform him, creating more problems for what's supposed to be a secret organization. The technology level of the world inside the walls has also become questionable now, given they have made ODM gear, an extremely advanced device that would require extensive knowledge of engineering, physics, and technology to create, but haven't yet cracked the frickin' revolver, or any gun with multiple shots in it. The citizens are also so incredibly one note that they just do whatever the plot wants. We love the government right now, despite what they do, because they gave us food. Oh, they did something bad? We hate them now. What an incredible lack of nuance. What happened to the world building? Why did it slide down a slimy hill, hitting cacti on the way down, only to discover it was actually falling off a cliff at the end, dangling above a lava pit, then taken through a secret 11th circle of hell? We could have done so much better for the general populace. What about the different walls? Is Wall Rose perhaps more significantly on edge due to the possibility of another Titan attack, causing civil unrest towards the government? Is Wall Sina more relaxed and content with the government given their closer proximity to the center? What exactly is the underground like? Is it just the poor people zone? Where are these people during the show? Do they not have some grievances with the government? Do they have any sway on anything? Imagine if the Survey Corps had to go on the run and allied with disgruntled people from the underground instead of the stupid Reeves Company plot. This could even lead to some moments for Levi. A revolution of oppressed people could absolutely bolster your themes and make sense given the world we've built. It presents opportunity for character bits, possibly investigating our government's morality and perspective, providing a means for nuance in their portrayal, etc., etc. You get it. This is the opportunity to expand on the world inside the walls, and it has been squandered. Man, the government plot is crippling everything. I am asking so many questions despite the fact these are supposed to be our answers. We'll get more reveals that are relevant to this season later, but I'll deal with those as they come. Some are good, I promise. Oh yeah, season 1 callback. So the government could have stepped in that whole time when Eren was on trial? Why leave the decision to Dallas at all? Their authority is absolute. The very second they hear this guy transformed into a Titan, they should get their hands on him now. The public was even on their side at that point too. If you think maybe they had no reason to believe Eren had the founding Titan, remind me who Eren's father is. It's also insane that the first time the founding Titan is not in the Reiss Puff's hands is when Titans actually attacked. The Reiss family can control Titans, and the very second that they get attacked and lose their power, Titans have attacked. Reiner, Bertolt, Annie, the people who staged it, none of them could have known about that fact. What a massive coincidence that makes that, thanks to these powers. Other Season 1 callback. So, would sending 250,000 people to their deaths on a suicide mission not count as violating Humanity Charter Clause 6? So the government gets got for prioritizing their own safety over the safety of humanity because they wanted to protect the people inside Walsina and themselves. How does that not apply with their sending to the death of 250,000 people for fear of food shortage? They say they've been using the law for a while, so it's definitely within public knowledge. Is it only because he added that stupid part about how the government is absolute and cannot lose control of the people? Because that would just make that line even worse. Or maybe the law simply can't be used against the royals because they're too powerful and would retaliate more than likely by killing you, in which case, they should be less popular with the people, shouldn't they? There's also the anti-personnel weak ODM gear. This government sucks. Their incompetence breaks the world. They are so overpowered and yet so stupid. It is insane exactly how much these guys damage. There are now about 6 ways the story should be impossible. There should be no Survey Corps, no books about Outside, no Erwin origin, no defeating the Founding Titan, no fall of Shiganshina, and no Eren going to the Survey Corps. And that's just how they affect the past. This season has them be idiots, possibly even more, in the here and now. This kind of transitions to our villains of this season, so let's move on to characters. Reiss, baby. So essentially this man is a zealot, believing in the god of the world that is the one who wields the Founding Titan, so long as they are Reiss. As far as assassination, there is nothing to directly contradict his motivation, but there are certainly questions he should be bringing up. So what you believe is essentially God lost a fight because she was inexperienced. Do you really think that's a sufficient explanation? Frida had used her powers constantly, and you think she didn't when it mattered just because she was new to this? Now, that's a problem with Frida being inexplicably incompetent, but it bleeds onto Rod as well. It's also strange that he is willing to spare Historia, given the horrendous things he signs off on, and the fact he essentially just sent her to die in the training corps anyway. If you planned on replacing Frida with her, or just wanted to spare her in general, why would you send her to the place where people either die in training or action? Just say you adopted her, nobody's gonna think that story's fake given you lost your entire family already. If that were all there was to him, though, he would at the very least still function. Unfortunately, Rod, of course, is sabotaged by the incompetence of the government, which he was apparently leading in the shadows the whole time. So yeah, that hurts him just a tiny bit. I mean, he's like okay at manipulation, and he made a move to get the people on their side one time, which is smart enough, I guess. My issue with that, though, is how easy it was and how one-dimensional that makes the world building. Still, though, that can't really be detrimental to him as a character. However, with all of the governmental stupidity, I think it's more than safe to say that Rod makes for a terrible villain. Okay, now we can talk about Kenny. I like Kenny, actually. The idea behind him is pretty alright. Didn't expect that, did you? The execution, again, is what I take issue with. So his dialogue in the beginning is pretty terrible and is absolutely exposition purely for the sake of it. More than likely because he has to die soon, so we need to get this character in quickly. In addition, he manages to somehow fail at killing Levi and Co. multiple times, despite that being his primary goal, and gives up opportunities to do so, especially with Flegel, who he somehow missed, unless they are unnamed characters, of course, in which case he's omega competent. His motivation is pretty cool, though. The man was a thrill-seeker, determined to have fun in any horrific way he could think of, until he met someone stronger, yet also kinder. It actually made him jealous of the man's kindness, and he wanted to understand it, only for him to be denied that chance, at least he thinks, before understanding it in the end. He always did enjoy what he did along the way, with no care for mortals. The moment when Rod revealed his inability to use the Founding Titan, he gave up hope and reverted back to simply having fun. Getting a life like Rod suggested would just bore him, so let's make Eren and Historia fight. At least some fun would become of it. Until, when gazing upon his life one last time, he could finally understand what Yuri's perspective was, leading him to choose giving Levi the serum at the cost of his own life. There's aspects of a character that work in there, however, it's a bit cheap to have a character be entirely explained as they die, as we have barely any time to even feel for them. We see some bits of compassion from him, which is appreciated, like him taking in Levi and realizing his own inability to raise someone properly, though abandoning him is a bit questionable. Him caring for his troops, nuancy stuff. You love to see it. Overall, though, writing-wise, I can't say Kenny's that good. The idea for the character has merit, but the writing around him is shaky at best and terrible at worst. We always get so close, on the verge of greatness. He's pretty incompetent at his job and poorly realized in his motivation. Much like the plot. So part of this was covered by the whole incompetence of the royal government thing, but we also still have our usual suspects here. Plot armor aplenty. Levi and Kenny get their fair share of insane feats, but absolutely jump the the shark in the whole bullet dodging super speed thing. Hanji also joins in on that train, not only with the whole bullet dodging, but also the insane durability too. Conveniences not only exist, but thrive. The piss. The actual, factual, literal piss. I genuinely still can't believe that was a thing that happened in this show. Dude, the world got saved by piss. The random tunnel that leads to the ritual directly not only being there at all, but also opened by the earthquake that Rod caused while also not collapsing on our heroes. The government sending the 2 policemen who killed Nick after the Levi squad without any backup or anyone else's knowledge. A majority of scenes have an asterisk in front or behind them because of all these things. I basically had a note or 5 every single scene. Some were nitpicks, of course, but others were things like the piss, and all of that adds up to form our plot. Plot bad, it is easily worse than Season 1 and the worst we will get for a while. Season 3 Part 2 and Final Season Part 1 are especially definitive steps up. As for Final Season Part 2, we'll see. Anyway, why not move on to the remaining characters on the good side? Who do you think I want to talk about first? Go on, guess! Historia, it's Historia. So far, we have had a kind and caring person, tainted by the pain of abandonment, on the verge of suicide. Her being called out by Ymir and given a new purpose saved her from the brink. Now, however, we fully understand the extent of what she went through. Taught kindness from her sister, teaching her to read about Krista and her life on a farm, but with a lack of any parental figure or person who cared about her, at least that she could remember. So she sought out that interaction she had read about, that someone like Krista had experienced, in her mother, only to be starkly rejected, to have her very existence brought into question. Then there was the day it all went down. Her mother, still blaming her for everything, died with her throat slit in front of a young Historia, certainly traumatizing her, but also implanting in her the belief that she had brought about that. I will say that it's a bit strange that Rod is the one who chooses the name Krista for her. I figured that would have been something she came up with, but whatever. That name, though, does give us context for her backstory that we didn't have prior, adding to the richness of this character. This additional knowledge also boosts the relationship between her and Ymir especially. She sought out and attached herself to someone like Ymir because of her yearning to have a figure in her life who cared, paralleled by her erased relationship with Frida. Ymir also understood her on a personal level, having been through similar things. Historia believed that the key to being a good person was to be kind. That would make people like her if she was more like Krista. After trying to be kind to show her worth didn't work, she has looked all around for someone to give her a purpose. And Ymir was that person. After the events of Season 2, though, she has lost that spark. Krista has died with Ymir, now feeling like she lost her very purpose and looking for someone, anyone, to provide it. She is done being what she thought other people wanted from her. Then Eren called her normal, something so simple that brought her so much happiness. Maybe being normal, being the person whose life convinced her that she was an affront to God, is not that bad after all. Then suddenly her family has come back into her life, offering her a chance to finally become someone worthwhile. She doesn't have to be herself the worst girl in the world. After all, she is Historia Reiss, a member of the royal family, and this is her duty. Rod cares about her. He always did. He apologized and everything. Now, they can be a family again. She can finally know who she was always meant to be. But Eren, the only person who ever liked her as she was, is now in the same position she found herself in so long ago. Was it really a sin that he was born at all? Does he deserve death for nothing? If only he'd never been born. This snaps her out of her voluntary brainwashing and causes her to free Eren, literally and symbolically breaking Eren's and her own chains. Live for yourself. Live a proud life. She has taken a chance to help someone else learn the same lessons she has so that he can live for himself now. If there's anyone out there who believes that they are worthless, she will help them. That's who she is. That's who she can be now. With her chains broken, she is finally free to figure out exactly who Historia Reiss is. She has decided to become queen so long as she can still fulfill Ymir's wish. She will get the people on her side and use her own power to help others. People like her, who could use a different life than they have, that need to hear that they are worth something. Though she has responsibilities as queen, she is now free to discover exactly who she is and can do so in the years to come. Her arc is complete and her journey of self-discovery, of living for herself, can now fully begin. Historia has had her potential realized, but there is so much more we could get in the future. Unfortunately, her appearances after this are pretty sparse. I would love to see more from her. The way they executed her arc this time around was very on the nose. There were a lot of lines to confirm what could be inferred by anyone who was paying attention or engaging with it. Just in case you missed it, I guess. There was a lot more subtlety in Season 2. Other than that, she is probably the smartest character in this season, figuring out things like the Reiss family's antics, Grisha's intentions, and the necessity of a stunt to gain the people's support. She unfortunately catches the plot armor this time around, and convenience works to her benefit, crippling the earnedness? That's not a word, but you know what I mean. She is still the best character, though, and easily the best part of the season. I would probably still give best character status to Ymir because of the strength of the writing around the character and her execution, but Historia is good. I might even say great. That's my queen. I guess we'll do her parallel for the season and shipping bait, Eren Yeager. There is the least Eren screen time this season, or at the very least, the least Eren focus. What we get is very in line with his character, though. The only real character things I have on Eren comes starting at the revelation of his father onwards. So Eren Yeager has a lot of ideals. He is almost naive in that way. Like in Season 2, when he is rather incapable of understanding things may be more complicated than who's the enemy. The most important ideal he has being that he must fight. For the sake of a better future, even if it is hopeless. Fight. Then his world is shattered. Grisha Yeager, and by extension Eren having taken the powers from the Erasers, have doomed humanity. The only reason the Titans have been able to destroy this many people is because his father heartlessly took this power and gave it to him. The only reason his mother is dead is because of him. Again, the execution makes it a massive contrivance, but the event itself is oozing drama. It is saddening watching this character we know has had his world unjustly torn apart be met with the realization that it should never have happened to begin with. If it wasn't for Historia's compassion and convincing him of his worth and Grisha's motives, he would likely have given up here. As he intermonologues on the wall, we see that he accepted his Titan powers so easily despite hating the guts of every Titan ever because he wanted to believe that that strength was made his own, that he wasn't weak, that he could stand up for himself, that he was special. Some acknowledgement or foreshadowing of this prior would have been nice, because as it stands, it kinda comes out of nowhere, so there's that. But it doesn't contradict anything, so we take it. He beats himself up for this, effectively attempting to kill his weaker self, the parallel to Historia shining through again. In the final confrontation with Rod, he can smile once again, now knowing that maybe he isn't special, maybe he even is weak, but he does at least deserve to exist. And that is enough. Next we get from him is his conversation with Keith Shadis. In this exchange, he gains peace of mind in knowing that his father must have had more to his actions that will be in the basement, as well as the idea that he may not be special and just be the son of someone who was. His mother's words that he is special to her, regardless of if he is special to the world, is not only a wholesome message, but a nice lesson for Eren to learn. He does not need to determine his worth by others' view of him or what he can do for the world, but by those closest to him, and that his uniqueness has its uses, just like Armin and Historia have learned and helped to teach Eren now. He can rely on others, working together, putting each of their differences together to form a force that can give them a chance even in the darkest of times. This, compounded with his choice to rely on himself in the cave, shows that he has grown to see that the strength of himself and that of others makes up for the faults of each individual. Eren and Historia both get into the themes of individualism, self-worth, the value of different people, and the forcing of people into roles against their will, all coming together in a neat bow. The execution of these themes, while not particularly subtle at times, is deserving of compliment. These themes also bleed into the rest of the show, providing a positive takeaway. If not for the insanity of the plot's causation being mostly founded off of astronomical luck and absurd stupidity, the effect it would have would be incredible. While we're on themes, how about the subject of morality? The killing of people based on differences of ideals alone. How does one morally rectify that? The answer the show goes with is that you don't. You will never know whether the choice you made was correct or if it was worse before you make it. A fascinating idea, and absolutely applicable to the real world. Wars are fought all the time for the sake of ideals that individuals believe in that are not even inherently evil. Now, the government in this show is inherently evil, but still. Historia considers this to be the right choice once she has seen the result, but it was a risk nonetheless. It is possible that Erwin leaving the government in power would end in less death, but would it cause or prevent more good in the process? The reason I do not discount this theme is because even though the government is quite clearly the villain, we only really learn that after the characters have the conversation about the morality of their actions. I think that pretty much ends our theme discussion, at least for the focused on ones of this season. How about we finish our discussion of the characters? Levi is still Levi. His character moments this season kind of just reinforce what we know about him already. There's a bit more depth to him than someone like Eren's GF because he has 2 traits at least instead of 1, but still. This was his backstory season, and it taught me nothing new about him personally, only about his upbringing happening. I can't name any extra traits of Levi, I can only name extra events that occurred in his life. He is extremely two-dimensional in in that regard. On to the other Ack, Mikasa is also still herself. Still annoying and a personality vacuum, I feel my investment lessen whenever I see her. She has less traits than most One Piece characters after the story stops focusing on them. Or most modern Marvel characters. I feel once again it is necessary to remind you that this is one of the most favorited characters on any list and my anime list, as well as one of the 3 main characters of one of the most well-regarded anime currently.
You're boring! Stop boring everybody!
Anyways, Armin is a guy who once again had very little focus on him, but don't worry, he will have his day next time. What we got, however, was rather gripping. Armin and John are probably the most human characters in Attack on Titan. For now. Seeing the effects that killing another human being had on Armin, his overwhelming guilt causing him to literally be sick and stop seeing himself as human, communicates exactly how far this guy has come from being too scared to even move when he saw any action. Yet he will do it, at even the cost of his innocence, in order to ensure the safety of somebody he has grown very close to. Season 1 Armin would have watched John die, not only because he doesn't know John nearly as well, but also because he would be too scared to pull that trigger, likely resulting in his own death as well. Armin is pretty good this season, and that's because his character execution is very well realized this time. Unlike Season 1, where they fumbled at the end, and Season 2, where they didn't do much at all. There's also John, who got not 1, but 2 great character mementos. The hesitation he felt in that moment where it almost cost him his life is great, and I already explained it when it happened. Other than that, though, there are payoffs to those moments and his scene with Marlo and Hitch. John is a character who sees the good in people, and his hesitation to take a life combined with the blind faith he put in Marlo and Hitch's nature to the point of possibly being shanked by them shows us exactly that about him. His personality shining through in his dialogue being a great touch that I will not stop complimenting because character-based dialogue is a good thing and we need more of that in this show and in media in general. This only makes me want to know more about the character and wish he had more focus, despite my compliments for what we get in passing. I wonder what John, who clearly gives the benefit of the doubt, would have to say about Annie or Reiner and Bertolt. Seeing him acknowledge what he did in hesitating as wrong tells us that he has come to believe in the Survey Corps' cause to the point of valuing their interests above his own comfort. So much so that he is willing to go through with it when another chance arises. Reluctant though he is. John is very much the heart of the Survey Corps, giving us laughs in his dialogue, general personality, rivalry with Eren, but now also being forced to deal with the harsh reality that they are in a kill or be killed scenario. John is still good, and Season 3 expands on his character in a very neat way. How about Erwin? So as for what makes Erwin very well liked by both myself and basically every AOT fan is his intelligence and morality. His intelligence was shot in Season 2, but his morality is an element Season 3 introduces and, overall, is pretty cool. The reason people find this character so good is because of his selfishness. More than anything, he wants to know what the secrets of the world are and to be there when it happens, regardless of if that means humanity loses in the process. His depiction in Season 1 and 2 does leave me wondering why he seems to disregard his life so much if he wanted to live through all of that. But you can kinda handwave that with some later developments, so the recontextualization mostly works. There is something rather interesting about an anti-hero in general, but Erwin specifically, who is the best tactician humanity has ever had, being motivated by his own interests rather than humanity's, is such an interesting concept. It sets him up as an unpredictable agent in the coming battle to retake Wall Maria. Will he make a decision that costs humanity, or will he pull through and save the day? We'll have to find out and see. There are also our secondary characters. Dallas and Pixies are rather simple, which is forgivable for characters that are less important, but they usually just explain their motives to us instead of having their actions speak for them. There's Fleagle, whose arc I might compliment if everything surrounding him wasn't absolute bullcrap. There is Sonus and Ralph, who are plot devices, and Sonus completely contradicts his only trait because he is stupid. We got Kenny's second in command, who is a devout follower of him, because why not, I guess? Then there is Marlo and Hitch, who are actually pretty cool. They offer a glimpse of what normal people would be like in this world, talking about the choices the Survey Corps has made and the ethics of it, while also being characters in their own right. Marlo is a hardcore idealist, willing to die for the cause the Survey Corps is fighting for after having given up hope in the current military regime. Then there's Hitch, a much more cynical individual, fueled by her experiences in her life and from the military police, but kind under the exterior. Their character informs the position they take on the issue. Naturally, Hitch falls on the side against the Survey Corps, likely because she doesn't believe much in anything, only being reinforced by the corruption in the military police. She also cared about Annie, her roommate, and thinks that the Survey Corps are the ones responsible for her disappearance. Until she hears the truth, and her lack of denial is probably because she could totally see Annie being the spy. Both of these characters, which have had so little screen time, have a little mini arc. These are how you do secondary characters. I wish we did more of them like this. Am I forgetting anyone? Hanji? No, don't think so. Alrighty, that's it for Season 3. In the end, I do think this is worse than Season 1 still. The difference is just not as drastic as I once thought. So the plot is absolute garbaggio, and is absolutely worse than Season 1's latter half by itself, let alone Trost and Prior. The world building, which was absolutely one of Season 1's strengths, as well as 2, but we're specifically comparing 1 and 3, is really bad this time and ruins a lot of the prior world building. It creates coincidences, strange decisions or lack thereof, and has many missed opportunities to boot. The characters are interesting because we have some terrible one notes, but other than that, most of the problems are with the presentation and execution rather than them making some very contradictory or assassination-y decisions. Some are even meaningfully expanded on, like Eren, Historia, Armin, John, Erwin, Marlo, and Hitch, though to varying degrees, mind you. Our villains are egregious, overpowered, and stupid, providing more questions than anything and are never threatening thanks to the ridiculous amount of plot armor auras that the characters emanate. Random chance is here to stay and cheapens a lot of the payoffs that would have been meaningful, so what else is new? Now, I opened this series with the statement that this show does earn some of the praise it gets, so the next seasons are going to have to do some heavy lifting. I especially look forward to Final Season Part 1, as that was the one I thought best on my initial watch. Anywho, when you look at this season as a whole, there is something wrong with almost every scene, and that drags it down quite a bit, especially considering the degree to which it flops. I am giving Attack on Titan Season 3 a 3 out of 10. This season sucks. Bye. Thank you so very much for watching and tuning in once again, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. Sorry about how late I managed to get this one out. A series of unfortunate events transpired that allowed me to not be able to record, and I ran out of audio to add the visuals to, so I couldn't do anything until I recovered because I got sick one day. My next time I was available to record was the Super Bowl, and then I got sick the next week I needed to record. So, yeah. However, I do want to thank you guys for the support we're getting on the channel recently. Even though small numbers though they are in the grand scheme of things, I very much appreciate it. I'm not entitled to a single one of your views, likes, or comments, so if you've given me the time of day, I really do appreciate it. And I would like to keep that mindset with me even if I wake up with 1 million subscribers tomorrow. As always, do the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully in a much more timely manner.
Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant. You serve no purpose in life. Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose.
He proposes that he knows why Levi joined the Survey Corps. Jeez. He proposes that he knows why Levi I'm gonna kill myself. At the Capitol, the government discusses their options and news reaches them of Eren and Historian's capture from Lord Reiss. Did I say Historian? It sounded like I said Historian.
My desert. My Arrakis. My dune.
Can y'all, like, build a Pokemon Pocket TCG deck elsewhere? Is that, like, an option?
Let me make it for the things you lack.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm about to go genuinely freaking insane here, I swear. Oh my gosh, I just want to freaking...
A government with the competence of femboys. That's... Okay. No. That's the wrong line in the script. Oh no. Low taper fade. Then taken through a seventh. Then taken through a seventh. Ah! John is a character who sees the good in people, and his hesitation to take a life combined. Gosh dang it!
I be licking this fella ear like.
She says she will let him escape before destroying. Whoa. Holy. Yeah, that's enough recording for me. We'll pick this up another time.